All right, good to see everybody, and kind of out of a rhythm here without having games, but it's good to see you. We're hanging in there. It's certainly been a challenging couple of weeks. We're very hopeful that we're going to be able to start practicing again at the end of the week and be able to finish with a couple of ACC games and hopefully get to a bowl game. But there's just a lot of uncertainty. This is certainly frustrating, but I don't think we're alone in what's going on, and we hope to get through this thing as healthy as we can. And again, very optimistic that we're still going to play football games this year, and hopefully we'll be able to play on the 12th. So there's not a lot of new news in our program, but I just also, wanted to touch base with you guys, and I'm sure there's a lot of questions about what's going on, and I'll be happy to answer any of them, with the exception of individual COVID cases and things like that are obviously, private stuff, but anything else is fair game. So fire away.
Just what's the general mood of the team from what little you've probably been able to be around them? Have they coalesced together, or are there folks at this point pointing fingers at each other for letting this kind of creep into the program?
Les, I don't think, I think our players are frustrated just because they want to play games. And we do not have a lot of positive cases. It's single digits. The thing that gets you is the contact tracing. That one case doesn't put one person out. If guys live in a suite with 3 other people or 5 other people, then that you could have 2 positives and be down 12 players. And it's just so widespread. I'm sure behind the scenes, there might be players that some of our better, more committed players are frustrated with. But I think as a whole, they're just frustrated collectively because they want to play football. They made so much sacrifice. I mean, we went almost 3 months without having a positive test. And like I told you in the beginning, COVID wasn't going to be defeated. We did a great job with it for a long time, and now unfortunately it's creeped into our program. And we've never had a test that a lot of guys are positive. It's just like a water drop. It's like a drip. It's 1. Then the next test, it's 1. And every time it's 1, it takes 6 people out, 8 people out, 3 people out. And you start adding that up, and you don't have enough players to play a football game. And, the challenge, if it was just the guys that had COVID couldn't play, we'd be fine. But we have some season-ending injuries. And then you take the COVID positives plus the contact tracing, and there's just, certain positions that we can't even feel, there's position groups that get wiped out. Because in a lot of cases, those guys live with each other. That, corners live with corners and safeties live with safeties. And so if one of those positions in that position gets it, the likelihood you're going to be down 3 or 4 people at that position gets really fast. So I think our guys just want to know when we play, who we play, and they want, if they're going to stay here and continue to work, they just want to have some certainty that we're going to have games. And, right now, I would certainly project that we're going to be in really good shape to play on the 12th. Again, unless we get some more positives here in the next week.
Dave, you told us, I think it was after the Campbell game, that a bye week can be a dark, lonely place after a loss. How worried are you about these guys going about a month or whatever it's going to be between games, and with the taste of the Carolina game in their mouths?
Again, I think the Carolina game stung for a week, and then we had some of the issues that we couldn't play against Duke. And I think our guys right now are just anxious to play. It's almost a feeling like in preseason camp that you're coming back to play football, and you're excited to be back together and practice, and then after a while, you just want to play someone else. And I think our players right now are, number one, just anxious to get back on the practice field, and two, to play another football game. And again, we have a good football team. We have some really good wins this year. And if you look at who our losses are to, it's against the top 3 or 4 teams in the league. So again, we have a good football team. I think our players have confidence. They just want to play football games. They didn't do all this work and all this sacrifice to play 7 games. So, might there be a player or two that decides that, hey, they've had enough? That could happen. But by and large, most of our guys want to stay and finish the season and do it the right way.
On that note, can you update us on injuries, guys that might be you're looking at might be ready to go for Notre Dame, or has anybody else talked to you about potentially leaving the team?
It's really premature to do that, Josh. We're still more than a week away. A lot of the return to play from the guys who are positive is that they have to go through an EKG, an echo. They have to get blood work done. If you've had it, there's quite a process to go through before you can play. So it'd be premature for me to talk about those guys. For the guys in contact tracing, we've got to make sure that they don't have any symptoms, and make sure that they're healthy. And we can't play this week because we don't know those things. And we won't know that until next week. And so right now I just think a lot of uncertainty. And once there is certainty of, okay, these guys are good to go. We got a game on the 12th that we can play. Then this is a discussion for Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
On that note, though, on the note of uncertainty, can you give me a sense for how you handled throughout the year, dating back to August, if somebody did test positive for it, your comfort level of getting them back out there from a strength and conditioning standpoint and the ramp up to get them back ready to play? Well,
this is the first break that we've had to take. And it's just a matter of, again, we haven't had one test that we've had. There hasn't been one test that I think we've even had 3 positives. It's always been 1 or 2. It's just a continuous that the medical advice from our doctor, Dr. Miles, who's done an incredible job of handling this from the get-go, is I just want to make sure that none of this transmissions happen in the locker room, because you really don't know, is it happening for social reasons? Is it happening in the locker room? And he just said, I just think we need to keep the guys away from each other in the locker room for a couple of days. Our players are still lifting. When they lift, they still do conditioning. We do all these things socially distant. Brandon Horgan and his staff, the protocols they've had to follow of nobody lifts on the same bar. They don't squat on the same rack. Nobody's using the same equipment. They condition, they're 15 feet apart, 5 yards away on a stripe. And so we can still do that stuff. We're just not letting them in the locker room. So it's not like we've ever completely stopped and now they're at home playing video games and studying and doing their schoolwork and not having any activity at all. So, is it a concern? Yes, it's not a huge concern. They haven't stopped working out.
Dave, is it safe to say that if there is a Wake Forest game on December 12th, that we really don't know right now who that game will be against? I've heard talk of potentially playing at Louisville, potentially Florida State even. There's lots of stuff going on out there as people are looking to juggle their schedules and get in a couple games to finish the season.
I think right now, Les, I think everything is up in the air. You know, I think from the beginning of this year, when the schedule started, you know, the schedule that we had ended up with looked nothing like the schedule we started with. I think one of the things the ACC has done a great job with is recognizing the period we're in and being flexible. You know, so right now Notre Dame is on the schedule for the 12th. We've been game planning for Notre Dame, and we'll continue to do that until we're told otherwise. But, you know, to me at this point, anything can happen. You see games all over the country being rescheduled for different reasons. So I wouldn't rule anything out, but I've been told nothing officially yet.
Dave, on the mental side of things, I mean, how difficult has it been the past few weeks for guys to kind of stay upbeat? And is there anything you can really say or do to kind of keep them upbeat at all?
No, you just remind them of the commitment they made when we started. And I don't think we did anticipate that these things could happen. I mean, we're trying to play football, college football during a pandemic. And from the get-go, we knew every time that there was a test, that it was going to alter a practice schedule and alter who could practice and what the roster looked like. It's frustrating, but I think our players recognize that this is not a problem or an issue unique to Wake Forest. You know, and we just got to persevere through it. So it's now December. So we've been here 5 months. We're still together. We've played games. I think the ACC has played more games than any other conference, and we're still going. And we're part of that. And I really fully expect that we're going to play more football games.
I know Kendall was a very special player to you, and for him to make his debut and get the respect of so many people in the National Football League for the way he stepped in there despite being a practice squad receiver. Must have been a really cool deal to watch as a coach. What was your entire feel from the weekend following that story?
Oh, I mean, Kendall almost walked away from football after the 18 season. And all I could think about is, man, I bet you he's sure glad he came back now. But just so proud of him. You know, I had been texting him, you know, the last 2 or 3 weeks when he got re-signed to the practice squad, and I was going back and forth with his mom during the game. And again, just so proud of him. And you know, he's a competitor. I thought just the way he handled himself the entire 24 hours, the game, the post game, I think he made every Demon Deacon proud.
Dave, as a football coach in the game itself, guys haven't been together. They haven't been working on timing. You don't know how many practices you're going to get in. Are you back to week 2 where I wonder what's going to happen when we try to run this play at all? What's going on in your head as a football coach?
No, I mean, you know, again, it's not going to be as clean as if we were playing every week, but we've still been here 4 months. It's not like we haven't run a play. It's not like going from spring football to fall camp that you haven't done it for months. So, you know, at this point, our guys are experienced. We'll be fine. You know, again, you know, is there a chance that we'll throw a slant in our next game that might be a little bit behind the guy because of that? Yeah, but again, at this point, we're going to focus on the big picture, trying to keep our players healthy, trying to get back and play another game, and we'll coach through all those details. And in terms of the things that I'm concerned about, the timing of some of our passing game plays and stuff is far down the list. When that becomes my biggest concern, I know that we're in a really good spot.
Dave, you said that by and large the team is eager to get back on the field and play a game, but had there been individual players at this point who have said, you know, I don't want any more of this, I'd prefer just to opt out or potentially even enter the transfer portal? Do you have guys that had made those decisions already?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, again, it doesn't fill up one hand. So now, can that change if another game's delayed or something happens? Yeah, things can always change. But you know what, Les? That happens during every season. I would say, if anything, we've had less of that during a COVID season than we've had in a normal season, which I'm proud of. You know, it's always, you know, usually when adversity hits and there's problems, that fractures and cracks groups. We've had less guys quit and decide not to play or decide to transfer this year than we had a year ago when we were 7-1. So, you know, those issues are not unique to this year. Now, I would say this year they have a reason to do that, or it may be a justification or an excuse, or however you want to, you know, if somebody really doesn't want to do this, they have another reason they can give that they haven't had in the past. And like I said, I really believe that some of our guys who didn't play, it was genuine health concern because of COVID. Like for Sage Surratt, there's no doubt in my mind that is why he chose not to play. I think he was seriously worried about COVID, what it could do to his health, the unknowns. You know, and I think there's other players that, you know, maybe use this as a reason. And there was other reasons that they wanted to do it, but that's okay. You know, and I told players at the beginning that if you're concerned at all about your health, like, don't do it. There's no penalty for not playing. You're going to keep your scholarship. You can take classes. You can still graduate. That we want people here that really want to be here. And it's no different now. You know, we're in December. At the end of this month, the 2020 football season will be over one way or the other. And we don't get to play football again for another 8, 9, 10 months. You know, we've gone this far. You've stuck together. Let's finish the race together. And 95-6% of our guys are doing that. So I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the ones that have stuck in there, and it's the great majority of our football team has made that decision. I'm especially proud of Boogie Basham. If any player would have a reason to do it, it's him. It's never even come up. And that he goes, football players play football. So I'm really proud of Boogie and the example he has set.
Any chance you can tell us which players are the ones that have made the decision on the other end?
You know, Connor, I think just like from the beginning, we've kind of let those guys make the decision and let you know through social media. A lot of those guys who do that. And, you know, the next time we play a game, if you don't see guys out there and they're not on the sideline, you know, you can do your own investigative reporting on that one. But, you know, from the beginning, we've told the players that we're not going to make a press release or an announcement about that. You know, we're just not going to do that.
I know it's still a long ways, and I know it's a long time until these conversations usually take place, but how the heck do you go about roster construction and who comes back next year and who takes advantage of that free year, especially when you're looking at redshirt juniors and true seniors on your roster?
You know, a lot of those decisions get made on their own. We've had some fifth-year seniors and fourth-year seniors already tell us they definitely want to come back. I would say half of them have already said they're definitely coming back. And we told those guys, let's not have these discussions until the year's over. And so those guys proactively have already said, hey, coach, just so you know, I want to come back. I'm great. The fourth year, so in those scholarships next year won't count. So we can have 85. So for instance, you know, Javiante Nash has indicated to us that he wants to come back for a 6th year. He said that from the beginning. I'm definitely coming back. So we're allowed to have 85 scholarships because this would have been his last year of eligibility. That scholarship doesn't count against our 85 next year. So those decisions are easy. Those don't affect your roster. the fourth year juniors that have a year of eligibility left, those are the discussions that we'll have when the season's over. And obviously those ones do count. The only ones that don't count are guys in their last year of playing. So Jasir Taylor's a player he's a fourth year senior. If he comes back, that scholarship wouldn't count against our 85. But I'm sure there's a part of him that wants to see, where is he in relation to the draft? And, so a lot of those discussions will happen after we get an evaluation from the NFL of where they have those players. Those are typically mid-December discussions.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if the calendar had moved because of the season progressing later than usual, and also because you've got a little bit of downtime right now. So I didn't know if maybe some of those things are happening proactively. That's the
Yeah,
reason
and I think though that we also want to see how guys finish the season. That the only fifth-year seniors you want to bring back are the guys that really love football and you think they're going to play a lot their fifth year. When you bring back a fifth-year senior and he's not going to play much, it rarely has a good ending. So let's see how these guys finish the year, their commitment level, how excited are they to play football? And, we'll meet with them when the year's over and sit down. And in a lot of cases, guys say, hey, coach, thanks. I had a great experience, but you know what? I got a business degree from Wake Forest. I got a job offer that's going to pay me this. I really am just ready to move on with my life. And those decisions are fine too. That's one of the reasons that you come to Wake Forest, is that when you're done playing football, you have a bright future of whether it's the NFL or business or education. I mean, our players have lots of options other than football. And some of them are 22 years old and they've been here 4 years and, they're ready to go on to the next stage of life. And that's okay too.
Dave, what's your feeling on bowl games where you see some bowls are now being canceled? And I mean, you got to think about now quarantine and what you're asking players to do, whether or not they want to prepare for that. Where's your mental space at about how you're preparing for the idea of a bowl game?
Josh, your questions are always good, and there's these big picture discussions. I'm just trying to get our team healthy for the 12th. Like, we haven't played in 3 weeks. So for me to be thinking about what bowl game and where we're going, man, I hope that's an issue we have. And we'll handle it just like we handled the start of the season. If our football team wants to keep playing and go to a bowl game, we'll go. I think we're certainly deserving of it. I mean, we have 4 wins, 3 ACC wins. We only have 3 losses. Every team we have lost to is in the top 4 or 5 teams in the ACC. We're a really good football team. My disappointment of not playing the few weeks is I think we had a chance to have one of the best seasons we've ever had here. And so we'd like to finish strong and continue to prove that we're a good football team. So we lost to Clemson. We have 3 quality wins over good ACC teams. And we have 2 heartbreaking fourth quarter losses to 2 teams that are near the very top of the standings. So I think we have a good football team. I hope we get a chance to prove that again on the 12th. And if we do that, we'll have a bowl opportunity. And if our players say, hey, we'd love to do that, great. If they say, coach, it's been a long year, we've had enough. The one thing I've asked our team is make decisions collectively for the benefit of the whole group, not individually. And so far, for the most part, we've done that.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Not to throw you a complete softball, but I just want to ask, how's Dave Clawson, your wife Catherine, and your family? I'm assuming you're still not living with your wife, right?
No, we're living together now. My son's school went from virtual to live, and so Catherine and Eric moved back into the house. And when they first moved back, you know, we kept masks on, we stayed in different parts of the house. If I can go a period of time that I feel I haven't been close to people and my COVID tests come back negative, I'll interact with them. But after we went to Syracuse and we were in a plane and in an airport and in a hotel, I came back and we stayed away from each other for 4 or 5 days until I got a couple of COVID tests back that were negative. So right now with this downtime, I've been able to spend time with her and have dinner and live in the same house. And when we start playing football games again, you know, one of us will stay in the guest room and we'll keep masks on. And when we have dinner, one will sit at the kitchen table and the other will stand up on the island. And, you know, but because of Eric's school, you know, she can't live away. And, you know, when we made that decision early in the year, we at that point, there wasn't going to be testing 3 times a week. I didn't realize we'd be coaching with masks on. And again, we went 3 months without a positive test. Now that this is happening again, I'm becoming much more cautious. So it's still not ideal, but at least I get to see her. I get to see Eric. Courtney's back in the house. You know, if anything, right now we're avoiding Eric because he's the one going to school again.
Anything else, guys? All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, I hope I get to see you